Many thanks for joining us on our election studio where Nigeria decides, and this time around we just had to listen to the president address the nation there, talking about some key points that have been made and how the conduct of the election should be held.
That's right, and we watched the State of the Nation address with our guests in the studio, and definitely we'll get to talk about that, talking about the high points, the things that the president mentioned about how much progress has been made and what essentially we should focus on during the forthcoming elections. Well, that will form the crux of the conversation during this segment on Nigeria Decides. At this point, we are joined by Ugochukwu Ikeakor, a political analyst, and Babasola Adegbuyi, YPP gubernatorial candidate in Ogun State. Thank you so much for joining us now.
Thank you.
You watched that address, and before we talk about the details and all of the things that he touched on, when you heard that the president was going to deliver an address, what was your reaction and the impression you got? Let me start with you, Ugochukwu.
I was a little bit indifferent. At that point, I was thinking that maybe the president is going to postpone the election. To be sincere, and the whole address this night was kind of surprising to me. All right, and I feel like it was more like a panic address to the nation. All right, bearing in mind that the president, if there's one thing he has done very well in this administration, that he has refused to speak to Nigerians over the last 4 years. You can count how many times that we had a State of Nation address to talk about the issues, the killings, or the issues around. So for him to just remember us today, I don't think I should celebrate it.
Babasola, were you impressed by the delivery of the president and the gesture, the tone of his delivery and communicating to the Nigerian?
Well, personally, I'm not impressed. The reason is, if you are coming out to give a nation address, you are not to come out and campaign. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a roundup of his campaign process before the general election that will be coming up on Saturday. The last time the national president addressed the nation was when he returned back from London to warn the Kanu of what he was doing during that Biafra agitation. That time. Since that time, the president has not actually come out.
But do you think this this State of the Nation comes at a time where it falls into the 48-hour deadline for having campaigns to have stopped?
Actually, the presidential campaign runs up today, so still falls within the 48 hours before the general election. So he has not, in one sense, he has not gone against the rule, but the other sense is that we expected something else. How then do we now differentiate
this from being a State of the Nation address and a campaigning ground? Because it had some campaign undertones to it, don't you think?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. His campaign, as far as I'm concerned, he has not actually addressed. I even thought what he was coming to do was to tell us that now that we are about having our election on Saturday, everybody should be try as much as possible to be violence-free. Do not participate in unnecessary arguments.
Okay, now let's talk about the details. Now, first and foremost, one of the things that really struck me in his speech is talking about the peace accord signing. Now, yes, he penned his signature to that paper and say, well, I commit to ensuring that we are going to have free, fair, credible elections. We've also looked at that coming across. But by the end of the day, don't you think this is just a signature on paper? And at the end of the day, the APC will do what they know how to do best. The PDP would also do what they know how to do best. And other political parties also play the game of politicking.
Well, for me, I think to an extent, I think it's commendable. And also, it's a mockery, it's a contradiction. That's how I see it. It's commendable, and they say it looks like an irony to me, because APC over the last few days, we had key actors, principal actors in this current administration talk about Rotimi Chibika Mechi and the governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, where he said that no interference, and for anybody that gets involved, will go back home in body bags. And some unprintable things that Rotimi Mechi said during the campaign in Rivers State, where the president was standing beside him. All right, I don't think that's the highest level of endorsement, having the general commander of the Federal Republic of Nigeria beside you, and you are saying things that are not supposed to be said. And this is the Rivers State that will know that, as far as Nigeria election is concerned, Rivers State is one of the volatile multi-state in this country, and for you to come there to say things that are unprintable, that are not nice, that will hit up the polity, is not good.
But then the president did say that all of those things that were said by state actors do not reflect the stance of the nation. He said that during the broadcast. I hope that you heard that. But then we also know, let me finish, we also know that before this speech came, after the statement by El Rufai, the body bag statement, the president said that he already explained why he said that and apologized. And then he said that statement was made in national interest. Now the president is saying that some of those things that were said do not reflect the stance of the nation. Isn't it double speak, would you say?
Actually, it's double speak as far as I'm concerned, because you cannot sign the peace accord. You know, this is not the first time. I think they signed one around November or December.
This is the second peace accord.
This is the second peace accord. So between the first and the second, your own members of a cabinet or members of the party are the one way or the other incited the people or the electorate against national interest. What Rufai actually said, as far as it's not for national interest, the president had to do something to protect the interest of his own people. So you're now coming out to say, oh, we have signed a peace accord with other political parties, so that signing peace accord is a different thing. Warning your members, the members of your political parties and the electorate, is another thing.
Do you expect anything new talking about national interest and security? Because there was some time last year where the president said that, well, national interest supersedes the rule of law, or national security supersedes the rule of law. So do you think we'll see any sharp practices going on this time around, and it will be labeled, well, it is under national security or national interest?
Actually, if I'm to go into the legal aspect, sometimes the national security...
The rule of law takes precedence at all times.
The rule of law, but sometimes, you know, what I notice is that whenever the president or whosoever has the power, even the judge sometimes, they put aside the rule of law for a particular, it's not all cases. It's not in all cases. You get my point. Sometimes they put aside rule of law, but just for the interest of the nation to supersede. It's not in all cases, like I said. But the truth is, in cases like this, the national interest is far, far, far more important than the, the security. Are you getting my point now? It's far, far, far more important than the security. I'm talking of the rule of law. The rule of law is national interest. You get, if you are talking of the rule of law, you are talking of national, because that is where the interest of the nation. The rule of law
states that everybody is equal before the law and the justice must have its rule.
Exactly. That's exactly. The rule of law is the interest of the nation.
Well, we have to have a strong, definitive stance on that.
Of course, from what we know, there are clear-cut lines in that. And, of course, we do not have a legal practitioner here to actually delineate. But from what I know, we, of course, have clear-cut lines between the rule of law and national interest, of course, and talking about the security of the nation and ensuring that we don't have foreign actors infiltrating and causing havoc that, like we're seeing in Nigeria now. Now, let's talk about the safety of observers, foreign observers. Already we know that in Abuja, civil society organizations have set up an election monitoring room to observe the election, and they've been held by the UK government. And there's also a statement by the UK government saying that politicians who engage in violence during the election are going to have their assets in the UK freezed and all of that, and possibly prosecuted. Now, the president has said that foreign observers will be protected. What does that say about the stance of the present administration to ensure peace during the election? Because we know that foreign observers are not backing down. We have them in the country as we speak now, and they are saying that they will observe the election and that they want to see it done free, fair, and transparent.
I think, first of all, let me just cut in for what you said. I think the rule of law is sacrosanct, and it's above national interest.
That's true.
You don't mix the two of them up, right? Because if someone barges into this place, I say because of national security, that we're all guilty, well, we've not been proven. When a competent court of jurisdiction has not found us guilty and shoot everybody, that's wrong. That's not the rule of law. So the rule of law is paramount. Then, to answer your question, I find it difficult to accept what the APC administration is doing, right? Because a governor, for example, in Kaduna State, foreign observers will be in Kaduna State. I'm from Anambra State. The last election in Anambra State that brought in Governor Willie Obiano, I was home. I had to go and vote. All right. So you have foreign observers, people that are not primarily from Anambra State. You have Europeans, you have Americans going around the different villages in Anambra State. So what is going to happen to some of them when they come to Kaduna State? Because from what we're seeing, we're receiving two different signals from Kaduna State and from the Federal Capital Territory. That's from Aso Rock. So is the president going to tell us that he's going to bring Governor El-Rufai, Rotimi Amechi? Because what is happening is that if, for example, foreign observers go into River State is a volatile state. There's been a lot of militancy, piracy around that region. So if these guys go down into the creek, will they be safe? So it's not about Abuja or some selected places in Lagos like Victoria Island. Let's say that someone, like a foreign observer, goes into Bariga. Will the person be safe? Will the person come out with his life and his properties all together? So I think at this point, I welcome what the president has said in terms of foreign observers being safe and all right, but there's still room for caution.
So you're taking with a pinch of salt?
Yeah, I'm taking a pinch of salt because of the precedent they've set over the last few weeks. And hopefully, I want to believe that maybe tonight or before the election proper, the president will call to order Rotimi Amechi or El-Rufai. If it's possible, if they can come out to say something better compared to what they've said in the past, it will help. Because I don't know. That
most likely will be a behind closed door session. But now, still talking about what the president said, he said the youth should not allow themselves to be used as puppets or tools to perpetrate violence as well. What do you make of that speech?
The same president that told us that the youth are lazy is the one that is not telling us not to be used as perpetrators of election violence. Now, like I always tell people whenever I go out there, I do tell them, you have the interest of the nation. You first of all have the interest of the nation at hand. Then do not allow anybody to make use of you. For anybody to make use of you, let that person first of all release his own son or his own daughter. You get my point? And let the two of you or the three of you go out together and create, cause mayhem outside there. So for youth, of course, youth are being used for violence. Youth are being used anywhere, snatching of ballot boxes, printing of ballot papers, and causing mayhem within
disorderly conduct.
You get so now. Youth have been used. So for the president to be telling us that, I think he actually said a good thing concerning that. It's not left for the youth not to allow themselves to be used. But another thing for the president to announce that, another thing is for the members of his own party too, not to encourage the youth to go out, because the youth of nowadays, what they're after is this, and that's the truth there.
And now he also spoke about, said that the damage that insecurity and corruption has done over time to the collective livelihood is incalculable, and he's pleading that we deal with this double-edged sword, and he and his
devils, he
yes,
said.
twin devils, and he and his government and administration have worked tirelessly to ensure that we have limited level of insecurity, and they're also fighting corruption as well. What do you also think about that?
With all due respect to Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari, the last 4 years, Nigerians have seen it all. And at this point, you shouldn't set an example for yourself and mark the same exam paper. Allow Nigerians in Benue, in Kaduna, in Zamfara, in his own town, Katsina. It was under his administration for the first time that Katsina started having issues around militancy and the rest of them, even Zamfara. Governor Masari of the APC governor in Katsina State just said a few weeks back about the issue there. The Zamfara governor was crying on TV when he went to see the president. I was asking. So it's easy for the president to come and read a well-prepared speech that was edited very well to us to say that insecurity has gone down low. But for me, I don't believe that. And also, just yesterday, the governor of Borno State was attacked by Boko Haram. 3 people were killed in the process. So if the governor of Borno State was attacked, him and his convoy was attacked, who is safe? So this administration has not done much, because the truth is this administration in 2015, the focus was economy, corruption, and insecurity. And on insecurity, I still call them low, because if you look at the index all over the world, Nigeria is struggling with Syria that has been facing a war over the last few years. Afghanistan, that is where our index is. That's how bad it is. All right. So the Middle Belt region is still in crisis. So for me, if you ask me to rate him, I'm giving him 2/10, and just me being fair. Or I don't want to give him 1/10.
Now, Ugochukwu, were you expecting the president to also mention something about Leah Sharubi and some of the girls still in Boko Haram captivity? Were you expecting him to also tell us?
I was expecting to hear that, to be sincere. Early this morning, when I was going to the office, I read the Chief of Staff, Ikeakor. He wrote a piece about encouraging Nigerians to vote, trying the hard things were bad before and everything. That was his own opinion. And Ikeakor mistakenly, I want to believe, missed that. He didn't put that. Ikeakor is the Chief of Staff to the President. And this evening, the President did not mention in his speech as well about Leah Sharibu. And under this administration, we had Red Cross members that were killed because they were just out there to help people. And Leah Sharibu is still in.
There was a rumor about.
But there was a rumor that nobody has confirmed yet. So because we don't bank on rumor, we can't go out with that. So for me, for the President not to have said anything about that, all right, it made it seem like it's all about him. He called the address, the State of the Nation address. It's not about the president. It's about the collective. It's about the collective awareness of the country.
But he was talking about Nigeria.
Well, if he's talking about Nigeria, just this morning, the number of Nigerians that were in extreme poverty is 91 million.
But he said we've overcome recession and it's time to consolidate on economic growth. Inflation is decreasing.
Well, that's his opinion. But I'm telling you that the fact that this morning, 91 million Nigerians are under extreme poverty. The World Poverty Index has calculated that, which is out for everybody to see. And we'll have more than close to 10 million Nigerians out of school children. So we'll have more than 11 million people have lost their job under this administration.
Isn't that what the president is trying to say, that he needs time to consolidate? No. Can you come in here? Let's bring Babasola in here.
Okay, maybe now I should talk as an economist.
Okay.
Yeah. When the recession is coming down, you don't expect a total transformation of the economy.
In the short term? In
the short term. It's going to be a long-term period, maybe 4 or 5 years. The reason is this: a lot of things, a lot of factors contribute to recession. Now inflation coming down 2.1. I know for people outside there, what is more important to them? Yeah, recession has come down, inflation has come down, economy has. In what way has it affected an average man outside there? You get my point. But in the truth sense, in the real sense of it, you don't expect the impact in the life of the people within the short time.
But do you think we might likely slip back into recession sometime soon, next year?
Yeah,
this year?
We know that the reason why we have a bit of reprieve is because oil prices are rising again. But there's been a projection that if oil prices drop, shortly, that we will just fall back into recession. As an economist, what are your thoughts?
And remember that OPEC is also having some sharp cuts as well.
Well, yes, Nigeria depends more on the crude oil. But also, they have now claimed that they have increased the agriculture products, that they now export more, and more of their revenues are now coming in.
Do you believe this really?
That is what the government, so they said. You get my point. But if that's the truth, and the agriculture is now bringing more money than crude oil, I don't think even if the crude oil price comes down, it's going to affect.
Now, you are a gubernatorial candidate in Ogun State. From your vantage point, would you say that a lot has been done in agriculture to diversify the economy by the present administration?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, a lot has not been done compared to the last administration.
Okay, quickly now, let's still go back to the mode of delivery. At the end of the day, some would say, well, you have to understand that even when the president is communicating all of these, he's not a necessarily born orator, so you should forgive him that he has to read. But this approach where he reads and even the reading isn't in the best of delivery that connects, how do you think this might sway people or not sway people to actually vote for him to come back into office?
Well, at this point, I'm not favorable to his cause. So, and I've not been impressed with this administration, and that's the truth, right? So, I watched the debate that happened a few weeks back. The president couldn't answer the questions they were thrown at him. At a point, Kadari Ahmed asked the vice president, Emir Sibanjo, allow him to speak for himself. So if you can't convince your people, leadership is about conviction. Leadership is about influence. And at this point, if a well-prepared speech that was edited by some of the best editors in this country can't convince people, I don't think there's anything.
But once again, do you think that the PDP is also going to come hard at him based on all of the things he said and even his disposition and delivery?
Well, I think at this
understanding the plight of the Nigerians.
At this point, speaking from on that side, I think at this point, the PDP can't campaign anything because the time has elapsed. It's just there for Nigerians to talk about what the speech on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, on everything. Nigerians at the end of the day will fact check him by tomorrow. We'll start seeing on the dailies what are some of the things that he said is true or false. But I think at this point we might not get to see anything from the PDP, the campaign office, because the campaign is over. Maybe some people within the party that doesn't hold brief for the party can speak and say.
Now, the president also talked about stomach infrastructure. We know the origin of that and the fact that he mentioned that it is only benefiting a few. We can link that up to the fight against corruption and what has been said. There's been a lot of backlash on his stance against corruption, and some people are saying that it is just against the opposition. And we also had a statement from the national chairman of the APC saying that once you come to APC, your sins are forgiven. So how does that buttress what the president has just said, or is it still double speak?
Well, the stomach infrastructure, if I understand the president very well, is all about what has been given out. I want to link it to this primary school feeding program, Empower, the 5,000 naira they are giving to the, according to them, to the old people and the traders' money. Or whatever.
In the light of what he said, that it is only benefiting a few, it's talking about, I'm saying it in the light of the fact that we have corruption. Some people are just taking in a lot of money and then it's just circulating among us, a few people, which is what the APC claims happened under the PDP government.
Well, for APC government or for Buhari's government, as far as I'm concerned, the president or this government has not fought corruption in any way. Though if you tell them outside, they will tell you, oh, we have 2 APC governors or 4 APC members that have been jailed. The truth is, those 2 guys were arraigned during the, was it Yar'Adua or Jonathan's time? That they were eventually jailed this time around. Now, for the few, for what is happening under this particular, under the Buhari's government, now, what has actually happened, as far as I'm concerned, it's just an exposure of the thieves in the other party and not necessarily what is in their party. So, the people, the few people among them there are, if you steal from outside, come inside and you'll be forgiven, and that is exactly what they are portraying. That's exactly what what's it called, Oshowole, the national chairman said. Still outside, once you leave that party, come to our party, you'll be forgiven. He did not make any mistake in saying that. Actually, he did not make any mistake. That's exactly what is happening in that political party. Excuse me. In that political party. So the stomach infrastructure is actually benefiting the few who are also calling other people thieves.
As it is. Now, initially when I asked that question, everybody thought we were talking about the school feeding program. Now, is that also an example of what stomach infrastructure is? Ugo?
No, the school feeding program, I think, is part of the poverty alleviation program of this administration to make it easy for people that don't have the children are out of school to go to school. But the irony is that we've had, despite the school feeding program, we've had more people drop out of school. We have more than 10 million school children out of school. So, but from the light of what I see, what he's saying is that the other party is keen on stomach infrastructure. But I think this is the case of the pot calling the kettle black. Because the truth is this: we've seen the president's wife in the past go around to fry akara. We've seen branded rice, bread with, even in Lagos, it seems something like there's a particular person that has his face all over everywhere. Even if you go into the bus, if you go anywhere, it seems like you want to use a toothpaste, his face is all over there. So it's a case of the pot calling the kettle black. So for me at this point, it's easy for the president to say that stomach infrastructure. The truth is that at the end of the day, the poor man on the street, the young man on the street knows the administration that has favored him as a person. If you're a business owner, you know the administration has made it more easy for you to have access to money or forex to do your business. So for me, at this point, I think whatever he said this night is coming at the very wrong time, because people have made up their decision, and people that's going to vote will still going to vote. So let's see what's going to happen with that.
I disagree with you, because we know that they are last minute. Most people vote on last minute changes in Nigeria. We've seen that happening, and that is why we've also had cases of vote buying. Yeah. You know, because it's actually during within the last hours that people are coerced to?
Vote buying, because I've monitored the election, I've been part of that, I've been a part of that process. Vote buying happens when you have financial inducement. In the line of like witness in Ekiti State, in Osun State, the last two elections that the foreign observers and the local observers condemned aggressively. I'm just saying, in terms of his speech, his conviction, it wasn't there. It wasn't there. If I am a voter and I vote next into this time in 48 hours or so, I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. There's nothing convincing about what he says. So the stomach infrastructure, I'm not looking for stomach infrastructure from anybody. I'm not asking the government to give me. I'm working. I pay my tax. I buy fuel for generator and every other thing. So I'm not asking for that as a young man. I'm asking, can the economy be favorable for me? Can foreign direct investment come into Nigeria? You know, we're talking about recession. The amount of money that's left this country, the JP Morgan and the rest of them, they left this country. And when they move with a lot of money. So what we need is who has the ability to bring back investors, to bring back money into Nigeria. Ghana, at this point, is the leading nation in West Africa that has attracted FDI in the last year. Are you
saying that the Buhari administration has not done that? Because from what the president said, ease of doing business has improved.
The interesting thing is that the number decreased under them and went up. But if you compare the position it is right now, it has not met the last position it was under the Goodluck administration. The facts are out there. So, and my pain is about, see, Ghana is like the size of Lagos and Ogun State. If there's a football match, we beat all of them like back to back. So
it's easier to manage a smaller space.
I don't think the size is a problem. I think it's the capability, the competence of the person. If you cannot manage something big, they give you something small, you're still going to mess it up.
Do you think so, Babasola?
I actually agree with him. I was reading the newspaper about 2 or 3 days ago that some foreign investors are actually waiting for this election for them to know whether they are coming here to invest or not. That whoever wins the election will determine if they are coming to invest. Now, when it came in, a lot of people put out their investment from Nigeria. You know, normally when they go out like that and the government has to go out to be looking for foreign investors to come in, it's just a matter of 5 people leaving and 1 person coming in. So it has not actually reached that particular where he actually met the parables, where he met it when he came in. So to him, it's improving, but to us, it has not improved because there is a benchmark that you met. So for you to convince me that it's improving, then you need to tell me that, okay, yes, 5 people left, now we now have 10 people who are in. That is what I can buy.
Now, since election campaigns, political campaigns are supposed to end by today, do you expect that all political parties would ensure that they follow this directive and there is no seemingly
pseudo campaign?
To be sincere, because humans will always be humans. So I don't expect them to follow that route to the letter. And that's where we trust the NBC, that's the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission, to step in. And it might be difficult to monitor social media because it's an unrestricted space where people can post and do every other thing. And most times they can work with different agencies to do whatever they want to do. I know because they can't monitor social media, the person can easily say that they are not working with us, they're doing it on their own. So I'm just saying on the angle of social media. But what the NBC and INEC can do is to make sure that with the relevant agencies they are working with, to monitor the radio waves, the TV waves, to see, even on the terrestrial part, to see who and who is still campaigning. Because if you ask me, I'm so sure that some people might even campaign till the morning of the election, and you still see the cars moving around. You still see some people wearing branded t-shirt. That's still a form of campaigning.
Now, you mentioned the internet. We're rounding off. Should we have an internet cut at this time? Quickly, what do you think?
No, not at all.
Okay. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your responses. We appreciate you. We've been discussing with Ugochukwu Ikeakor. He's a political analyst, and Babasola Adegbuyi, YPP gubernatorial candidate in Ogun State. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your thoughts. Now, what do you think about the president's speech? You can share with us your thoughts on our social media platforms on Facebook and Twitter at +TV Africa. We'll take a quick break. Nigeria Decides returns in just a moment. Don't go away.